It is rare that I see two NBA playoff games in the same night jumping off the page like we have here on Tuesday. Hi, I'm Bruce Marshall here at Wager Talk. We will get to those matchups in just a second. First of all, though, as always, just want to remind you to subscribe to our Wager Talk YouTube channel. Just click that button there on the screen and to subscribe to our channel. And also, don't forget special promo we've got going right now. Great promo. 3 days, $69, plus an extra 3 days free. That's 6 days for just $69. All of my picks up there, also at wagertalk.com. Now, let's take a look at these battles on Tuesday night. They're both in the East, and the first one we're going to talk about is Philadelphia at Boston. The Celtics up in this series now 3-1 with a chance to close things out here tonight or on Tuesday night. Now, let's keep in mind a couple of things about the playoffs thus far. The zigzag, which we have seen in the playoffs a lot over the years, and it usually steps up right at the start of series, especially here in the first round. And we saw it in this series, and also Atlanta, the Knicks. We'll talk about that in a minute. But eventually, that starts to wear off as the series goes along, and we did see Boston win both games at Philadelphia. Games 3 and 4. So I'm not sure the zigzag is that applicable anymore as this series at least proceeds onward. Also, the unders were really covering early in the first round of the playoffs, at least the first 2 games for each series, 13 and 3. The unders, the first 16, cooled off somewhat as the venues switched. So we saw a few more overs as the weekend action commenced. So under is still hitting a little bit better than 60% thus far in the postseason. Keep that in mind. But the big deal we like here in Philadelphia, Boston, it's the Celtics. And I think despite Joel Embiid's return to action for Philadelphia on Sunday in Game 4, it really didn't make that much difference. You know, there are some fundamental problems here that Philadelphia has in this series. And it also, we've seen this in the recent past with Boston and Philly. And remember a few years ago that Game 7 in Boston, the deciding game, Boston just blew Philadelphia off the court. They've had Philly's number in the postseason, and they certainly did in Game 4 after losing that Game 2 and then having a bit of a scrap in Game 3 as well. But Game 4, I think that the series completely turned around. Yes, Embiid came back for Philadelphia. Yes, he put up some decent numbers, but that's really not what Philadelphia needs here, I think. They really need to get VJ Edgecombe going again. And we saw in Game 2 how he came up with that big 30-point night. He and Maxey were really destructive that night for Philadelphia. But, you know, his shot attempts have gone down and his production has gone down since then. He only scored 6 in Game 4. So they've got to get the Baylor rookie involved a little bit more, mostly because they have to match Boston's three-point shooting prowess, and we've seen this before from the Celtics quite a bit. In fact, that's their MO. Heavy into the analytics. They shoot a lot of 3 balls. They just do it better than anybody else. In this series thus far, as we enter Game 5 on Tuesday night, 29 more triples that Boston has made than Philadelphia in this series. That accounts for 87 more points beyond the arc. That creates a big deficit for Philadelphia right from the start. And we know that Boston sometimes gets into these ruts where they start missing a lot of three-pointers, like they did in Game 2. They missed 37, goodness, in Game 2. And because, you know, sometimes they can shoot 50, 55, 60 triples in a game. If all their shooters are cold, it can go bad for Boston. So there's a little bit of risk always involved with the Celtics, adding a bit of drama to it. However, that is very unlikely to happen again because they have 5 guys who they can really count on to shoot threes. We know about Jaylen Brown. We know about Jason Tatum. We know about Derek White. How about Peyton Pritchard off the bench? He has been tremendous. He's made 11 threes across the past 2 games. And I love that midseason pickup of Nikola Vucevic from the Bulls. He can shoot threes too. He helped them out with 4 of them in Game 3 when the Celtics really needed them. It is very unlikely that all those guys go cold at once. It's more likely that 1, 2, or 3 of them at least are having a hot night shooting. And that allows Boston to stretch these margins. And we've seen the Celtics do it before. I don't think Philadelphia is going to be able to keep pace here tonight. I think the series got away from them, especially in Game 4 on Sunday. I would lay the points here with Boston tonight. Total's a little bit dicey. It under has generally been the trend in the playoffs, but I'm just going to stick with Boston here in Game 5 Tuesday night. Lay the points and see the Celtics take charge. Now, let's take a look at the other game on Tuesday night that I like, and we're going to Madison Square Garden for this one as the Knicks host the Hawks. This series, though, is tied up at 2, so a little bit more competitive than the Boston-Philadelphia series. And the Knicks coming in off of a nice win in Game 4 in Atlanta, handily winning that game by 16 points. Now, what sort of changed for New York here? And I think we saw the Knicks. We've been waiting to see the Knicks sort of step up their game in the postseason. And we know the pressure is definitely on. It's certainly on Mike Brown. Let's not forget last year New York got all the way to the finals of the Eastern Conference, Game 7 against the Pacers. They lost that one in Indianapolis last spring. And that was it for Tom Thibodeau. Jim Dolan, the owner, said, "You're out. We want to win a championship here. We don't think we're going to do it with Tibbs." So they went out and they hired Mike Brown. So the bar is very high for the Knicks. And frankly, if Brown doesn't do at least what Thibodeau did last year, I'm not sure about his prospects sticking around next year. The Knicks needed to have an answer in Game 4 because they had thrown away Games 2 and 3, both of them 1-point losses, a big lead they threw away in Game 2, failed to execute down the stretch in Game 3. So this was a big watershed moment for the Knicks in Game 4. Well, they delivered. We saw scoring balance, sharing the ball, defense better, physicality was way up. All of a sudden, it started to work very well for the Knicks in Game 4. Now, they are in this position now, and a chance to take control of the series again tonight, even with Jalen Brunson not putting up huge numbers in this series. He only scored 19 on Sunday in Game 4, and he hasn't hit better than 50% from the floor yet in this series. But we know that's coming, and Brunson can be expected to come up with a big effort very soon. In the meantime, some of the others, OJ Anunoby has had a very good series. Karl Anthony Towns stepped up pretty big in Game 4, and we saw the Knicks really sort of disrupt what the Hawks want to do in Game 4. Atlanta, the advantage Atlanta could have is it's actually when the Knicks are on defense, and it's actually when Brunson is on the floor. When he's on the floor, especially when Miles McBride and Alvarado, who doesn't play that many minutes, but when he's on the floor in any sort of combination there, they get very small on the perimeter there. Defensively, that can be a liability. Atlanta does have a little bit of a length edge out there on the perimeter, and athletically, their athleticism is good too. So there can be some fundamental problems they cause for the Knicks. But we saw in game 4, it all started to get away from them there. All the scorers didn't step up. This is a new adventure here for the Hawks in the playoffs. And, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Jalen Johnson. I mean, they've got to do better than they did on Sunday. And C.J. McCollum can't be expected to carry the whole load here. 17 points on Sunday. That was the leading scorer. I think the Knicks took control of this series on Sunday. I think they carry that through. And I would lay the points here with the Knicks, 6.5 on Tuesday night. I think that's a really good spot. Knicks and Celtics both laying the points. And it might lean a little bit to the under in the Knicks game as well. But certainly it's the sides that I like a lot on Tuesday night. That's Celtics minus 11.5 or so against Sixers, and it's Knicks minus 6.5 or so against the Hawks. Okay, don't forget that special offer we've got now. 3 free days of picks. Our normal 3 days for $69. We'll give you 3 extra free days for free. That's 6 days for $69. That's a deal. Okay, until next time, it's a goodbye from me.